Those of you that actually are trying to grow some green vegetables, one sort or another, are probably encountering these particular beasts in your very own yard. And so I wanted to introduce our head of the food division, David Tinoco, who's going to tell you how we go about battling weeds. Okay, over to David.
But first, I wanted to acknowledge everybody that's been helping with this project, specifically Rick, Rob, Cassandra, Marty. You know, I've been getting some incredible mentorship, and it's really paying off. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of an update on what's going on. So we have our beautiful trees in the orchard, and we're putting fencing around them so that they get their compost and their fertilizer. And I tell you, in just 3 weeks of doing that, the fruit, we have pink guavas trees there. The fruit tripled in size. They were about this big. And I last time I checked, I had a guava about this big on the floor. So it's just incredible what a little bit of composting and watering and just general care can do. So that brings me to the topic, which is weeds, what to do with weeds. So this has been quite a challenge because in the forest in Florida, weeds are everywhere. And if you just make one little spot, you clear it out, you basically created endless weeds for yourself. So I began researching and studying what can be done about it. And one of the greatest solutions we've found to keep it under control is mulching. So this is one of the easiest things you can do. You can spend hours and hours ripping the weeds out, but they'll just come back 2 or 3 times stronger. So what you want to do is you want to cut those weeds to the ground. Okay, you don't want to pull them out because those roots have a lot of nutrients in them, and that's actually the soil repairing itself. So if you take the full weed out, you're basically undoing the natural composting that Mother Nature has begun the process of in order to fix the soil. So if you take a weed whacker or a lawnmower and you just trim those weeds to the ground, you have 2 options of what you can do with all that stuff, that leftover material. You can feed it to your animals. If you have goats or chickens, they'll eat those weeds. Or you can leave it there in that same spot, and you're just going to cover that and use that as your mulch. Now, the best mulching material that I have been able to use has been wood chips. Wood chips are fantastic because they absorb water. We have this humongous pile of wood chips that Rick was brought over for us to use. This is our second pile we've gone through. You should see me there on Saturdays. It looks like I'm digging ditches, you know? And so we use that material and we cover our berms with that. And so what you want to do is just the spot where your plant is going to be put, you move the wood chips aside, you put your plant in there, and then everything else is covered in wood chips. And what you'll find is in several weeks, that soil is going to completely transform. So an example of that is one of our berms had been exposed to the sun for a little too long, and the soil became just pure sand. You could literally just scoop it up and go like this, and it just runs through your fingers. And so we completely covered that berm with wood chips, gave it a good soaking, and left, you know, whatever weeds were under there, we chopped them to the ground, we covered it up. And about 3 months later, I went in there to plant a papaya tree, and I was completely shocked when I pulled aside the wood chips and I found this rich, black, crumbly soil. So in just about 12 weeks, it was a complete transformation. So in Florida, you're going to find that the sun is just too strong. And if you don't have a tree to provide shade, then you definitely want to get that mulch in there, because that wood chip mulch can actually reduce the temperature of the soil up to 60 degrees. So you can find actually uncovered bare soil can be as hot as 120, 130, even 140 degrees. And by just mulching it with wood chips, the temperature goes down to about 80 degrees. So if you've had trouble with plants dying or withering in Florida, that's your solution. And that'll also keep the moisture in the soil. Now we're working on some more advanced techniques now with Shandor, who's here on the call, and he's going to be helping us with those techniques. So you'll be learning more about that. But that's basically it. And then other than that, I just wanted to tell you every week we are planting trees. Last week we planted 5 trees. I believe the week before that, Marty helped me plant another 6 or 7, I think it was. So at this stage, the game is to just plant lots and lots of trees in the forest. We have, I think, 6 papaya trees now. We have a mango tree, which is just about to be planted. So we are also looking for people who want to grow seeds for us. So anything, you know, that grows easily in Florida, tropical fruits, that's going to be the first step. And once we have that, then we will move on to bushes. We'll be planting berries, and then our regular produce, spinach, carrots, onions, and all that good stuff. Okay. So we now another thing really quickly, I wanted to acknowledge the Sanders for their help, because we now have extra batteries for the lawnmowers. And we have now installed an irrigation system for the berms. So the entire garden is now completely on automatic. We have automatic timers. We have drip irrigation installed everywhere. So it's becoming quite an operation. And lastly, a big thanks to Rick, because he's getting our greenhouse ready. And that's super exciting, because we're going to have a nice controlled environment for growing things. So thank you very much to Rick. He's been, I tell you, he's been putting a lot of work in there in the hot Florida sun. So we're going to have some great results from that. And thank you to everyone who's helping with composting and leaves. Just keep doing that. Any help you can give me in the garden, just come see me anytime. I'm there every Saturday, and I'm more than glad to receive that help. Okay? Any questions?
Just as a real quick win too, I took 2 of those little squash home a week or so ago whenever I was there. Delicious. They actually
great.
have taste like they're supposed to taste. You know, they aren't over farmed or farmed in soil that's has no nutrition in them. Thank you very much.
Great. Wonderful. Okay, that's it, unless there's any questions.
Thanks again, David.